I have to admit that this filter actually does look sick, and probably I will use it when I make another Latin video. Anyway, let's get into the topic of today, which is comments, memes, and things that people say. The topic of today is Snider's PMRC Senate hearing speech. I like this, to be honest. Back to this again. Sorry. Hello, Brave New World. What's up, Brave New World? Joshua again with a brand new video in which, one more time, as I stated previously, and in a director's shortcut, which was kind of deleted because the intro for that was actually pretty low. This is better. Because the intro for that was a little bit long. I have decided to edit it out, to cut it out, and continue with this video in like this. Now, let us have a look. Yeah, this is the filter I love. Yes, this is the filter I love because... reminds me of the thing, of one thing I lack. Let us continue. So one more time. The topic of today we are going to have a look is the... Oh, come on, come back here. The topic that we are going to discuss right here, it's going to be the comments, the memes, and the things people say about Snider's PMRC Senate speech hearing. Full. According, before we, yes. And it starts with the following opening remarks, which is actually rather articulate, well written, and far more understandable than many audios in a lot of English certification exams. And it says, I do not know if it's morning or afternoon. I will say both. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Snider. That is Snider. I have been asked to come here to present my views on the subject of the subject of the content of certain sound recordings and suggestions that recording packages be labeled to provide a warning to prospective purchases of sexually explicit and other potentially offensive content, unquote. Before I get into that, I would like to tell the committee a little bit about myself. I'm 30 years old, I'm married, I have a 3-year-old son. I was born and raised a Christian, and I still adhere to those principles. I stopped the quote so I can say, at some point so do I. You don't need to be entirely a Christian to be a moral person, and neither do you need to be entirely religious in order to be a moral person and to have morals and to know that punching a person like this is not good. Believe it or not, I do not smoke, I do not drink, and I don't do drugs, and neither do I, Mr. Snider. Neither do I. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. In order to give this in order to make sure this has some animosity, let's listen to some music. You know what I'm playing. In order to read the comments of the people. Come on, play it, sweetheart. I know you can. You have already been repaired, and that makes me happy. Yes! Let us have a look at the first comment that people says. At the first comment that people said. And it is... Jetscorp says, a year ago, when this dude walked in, it's like the 80s entered the room. The whole 80s. And I have to admit it that that's actually true. Let us not forget that according to Wikipedia, Mr. Snider has been active since 1974. Therefore, that means that during the first years, probably he struggled a little bit. Maybe he fought adversity as a beginner musician, as a beginner performer, as a beginner vocalist, of course. But during the 80s he became prominent because after 1974, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 80, after 6 years of experience, he started to become prominent. That's my theory. Feel free to comment it back down there. I love this music, but the volume must be balanced. Oh yeah, Scott M. Hey, like Scott Joplin, the music that I'm listening to. 6 months ago says, when he walked in, they were laughing, period. When he left, they were angry. Awesome. 1,133 likes, including mine. Now you have, man. Now you have, and I have to say, my reply for you is, I totally agree. The look of Mr. Snider proves one does not simply judge a book by its cover. I mean, that is the silliest decision one could make. Oh no, a typo. Let's leave it, in order to prove that I'm human. Joshua Ayala says 4 months ago, little did those parents know their grandchildren were going to have OnlyFans one day. I'm so sorry. It was not my intention to belch like that. And I have to agree, hey, some of these people do have OnlyFans in order to express themselves, in order to make some extra money. And I have to say, if a girl is going to do that precisely, she can totally do that without being judged. Which gets me to thinking that the silly Americans who usually shun, disown, and throw trash publicly to the ladies, especially the ladies who have OnlyFans, such as this mom from South Carolina, such as this mom whose son was expelled from the high school, after it was discovered that she indeed did have a OnlyFans account, whose photos were actually shot by the husband of hers, who probably was totally agree with her because, hey, extra money is extra money, baby. And just like that, there is the case of a Venezuelan girl. Her name is Alsacia Plus. She's the owner of this particular comic called Azúcar y Sal. Translation, salt and sugar, I think. Salt, thick and salty, salt and sugar. Literally, it's salt and sugar. Oh, it's the same, thank goodness. I might as well deactivate the automatic playing. I love Scott Joplin, but one must make sure that it is royalty free, otherwise the video gets copyright struck. Back to the topic of this lady, this Venezuelan artist, who recently joined OnlyFans for a rather noble reason. She joined OnlyFans and she has started to make erotic art in order to get some money, which she will use to pay for her father's medical bills and her father's surgery. And I have to say, that might be the first OnlyFans for which I might pay. Feel free to quote me on that. Now, let's continue. Please, continue. Yes. Scottish Macmillan 5 months ago says, ironically, I never loved Twisted Sisters music, but I learned quickly to appreciate this intelligence and conviction. Absolute badass. In a way it is, because I have the opinion that the word badass, I totally agree. Let's see. I totally agree. Period. One usually associates the word badass with violence and soldiers. However, as you said, Mr. Snider, in a way, is a badass for standing up to power-hungry wimps whose hair color will last longer than their marriages. Tipper I'm a terrible person, I know. Let's continue with the next one. Random commenter says 3 months ago, he said in an interview that he dressed the way he did and combed his hair the way he did so as to lower their guards when he came in, and then open with a completely intellectually respectable speech. In other words, it's not that he didn't have or couldn't afford a suit. He chose not to wear one just to screw with them as an opening act. I love this guy, and to be honest, I love them too, because that once again proves the old saying that you can't judge a book by its cover. One should never judge a book by its cover. A book should never be judged by its cover. How about that? I'm projecting the same idea, I'm expressing the same idea but with different words. Let us continue. I love this. Joseph Turner comments 6 years ago. Family values scorecard. Dee Snider and his wife Suzette, still married and produced responsible kids. Ha! Al and Tipper Gore, now split and son abuses drugs. My only drug is going to be the music that you're listening to. I love Scott Joplin, and you have no idea how much. Give me a second, I have to answer to the woman I love. Give me a second. Te amo, cielo. Respondiendo a tu pregunta. Answering to your question, sweetheart. I was rather pleased to have my computer back. Additionally, I am recording a video now. Feel free to join me on the transmission. Let us continue with the topic. Sorry if I'm wumbling around, I think. Now that the music stopped, let's let it rest. Let's let it rest for a moment. And let us continue with the next one, which is Billy, Bob, John, Adam, Joe. Literally, he has 5 names. Billy, Bob, John, Adam, Joe says 5 months ago, my extensive collection of cartoons. This is clearly a man of culture. A culture far larger than the beard, which unfortunately, as you can see from this filter, I don't have. And I totally hate my genetics and my dad a little bit for that. Okay, no, not really, that's beyond my control. That's better. I might as well look into treatments. Now, let's go back here. Green Zombie. Oh, this is amazing, and I quote, let's play that. I hope that this enters into fair use. Besides, this is a public footage because this is a Congress hearing. Therefore, let us hear it.
Are mentioned in the song.
No, it's not a wild jump, and I think what I said at one point was that songs allow a person to put their own imagination, experiences, and dreams into the lyrics. People can interpret it many ways. Ms. Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it.
Drops the mic. Oh, oh. Let's see. Green Zombie says 9 months ago. Songs allow a person to put their own imagination, experiences, and dreams into the lyrics. People can interpret it in many ways. Miss Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it. Ah, drops the mic. 828 likes. Puff Dragon 421 says, I was 14 when this happened. I remember it like yesterday. A lot of things change over the years. One didn't. Politicians. Still idiots in 2020. I totally agree, man, but your politicians are still a little bit smarter than many other idiots in the American continent. And that's all I'm going to say. S. Stainers, S space STANERS says the only sexual and sadomasochistic material in the song Under the Blade lies in the mind of Mr. Tipper Gore. Nina, what are you doing? It's my cat. Come here, sweetie. Oi. Come here, sweetie. What? Do you want to listen to me analyze the stupid comments of the stupid reason behind this hearing? Would you like to come with me? Love you. I hope that this is enough clickbait for some people to click. I get the beer, but Nina doesn't. That's a little sad. Let us continue, Nina. You're welcome to stay. No, stay here. She's gone. Anyway. Yes, I think this whole hearing can be summed up as that. Next one. Tyler Keller says, I do not drink, I do not smoke. Removes sunglasses to reveal crystal clear undilated eyes. And I don't do drugs. Boom! Owned. They were owned. Totally true. I agree. I don't know how to. I'm not sure about how to pronounce this word. Let's see. Google Translate. What do you have for us, Google? I don't trust you for words. However, I can totally trust you for one singular word, and that is dilated. pupils. Yes, dilated pupils. Dilated pupils. Come on, play it, Google, please. Google, what are you waiting for?
Dilated pupils.
Again.
Dilated pupils.
Dilated pupils. Let's go back to this. Tyler Keller. Next one. Underrated inventions 7 months ago says plot twist. That explicit label resulted in higher sales. Again, that thing that is labeled as forbidden ends up being wanted more. Just let us try it so that we don't feel left out and we don't die with the curiosity, because sometimes the curiosity killed the cat. However, it did die knowing. Just like you, right, Nina? What do you think will be the cause of your death? Will be my excess of love? Or maybe will be curiosity? What do you think? Come on, go back. I know you want to be on the bed. You want to be on the bed. I enjoy Zappa, but not Twisted Sister. Dude, Zappa has songs explicitly about vaginal discharge and shit. Damn it. Says N-I-K Nick the Dick 123. I love that. No, this is amazing, and it perfectly summarizes the silly lines of Mr. Al Gore, which is bottom line. I don't need government to be my kid's parent. I got this. Says Scottish Macmillan. And also right here I have the script for that particular speech, which says right here, one more time. Let's quote the words of Nick the Dick 123. I enjoy Zappa, but not Twisted Sister. And he's like, dude, Zappa has songs explicitly about vaginal discharge and shit. And there's another one that says, bottom line by Scottish Macmillan says, I don't need government to beat my kid's parent. I got this. And I totally agree, because if you're going to have a kid, it is your responsibility to do the rest, just as much as it is your responsibility to avoid having them if you don't want these responsibilities. But once you have it, you get those responsibilities. We're not talking about abortion, because that's a topic for another day, and it is not the main focus of today's. Even if you want to talk about it, feel free to do it in the comments. However, please try to focus on the video, on the topic of the video, which is the things people say. Let's see. Thank you, Mr. Snider. As I said in my testimony, Mr. Snider, the chairman asks, and thank you, Mr. Snider. Let us suppose that there is a music which glorifies incest, not yours, but suppose there is. Do you think parents should know about it? Or do you think that it's just a matter between whoever is selling the record and whoever is buying it? Nope. You have to be aware so that you can keep your kids away. It's your job. It's your job as a parent. I mean, look at me. I don't even have a kid, and I kind of understand this better than many people who have kids and have no idea. Funny enough, one of my former romantic partners insisted on that, and I was like, saying, I am not prepared to have a kid. For that reason, we should not have it. We should not have one. That's another story for another time. One more time, Mr. Snider says, quite simply, as a part of myself and as a rock fan, I know that when I see an album cover with a severed goat's head in the middle of a pentagram with a woman's legs, I know that's not the kind of album I want my son to be listening to. And he makes total sense, you know. Let's see, there are these words by Al Gore that I wanted to mention and quote. Senator Hollings. It's not this one. Where are you? Give me a second, I'm going to find the words I'm looking for. I found them. Senator Gore says, and you will find when they get a little bit older than when they are exposed to the kinds of themes that we were presented with earlier, if you love your child, you agree to be concerned about that. And if you want to protect that child from an unnecessary exposure to inappropriate material, you sometimes need a little help. Nonsense! I don't need the government to be my child's parent. I am the parent, that's my job. I don't even have kids and I already feel the responsibility. Even if 20-year-old Joshua will despise the idea, but he knows that one has responsibilities and now I am 28 years old and I hate that. But that's another topic. Back to the lines. It is, and if you want to protect the children, you sometimes need a little help. That kind of guidance is the kind of guidance that is presented in the movie industry. Again, you need to watch the movie first before you can watch it with your kid. It is totally unreasonable, in my view, to expect parents to sit down and listen to every single song in the albums that their children buy in order to fulfill their responsibilities as parents. Ha! Says the guy whose kids, according to the internet, are not the most functional people ever in this planet. Now, the only thing in your statement that I felt at all comfortable about was when you said that you share one of the concerns of the PMRC. I would simply conclude by expressing the hope that the artists of the record companies will find a way to manifest that mutual concern in some self-restraint and show responsibility and give parents a break. Who says parents get breaks? You never get it, and the first years are the toughest. I like the way I smile with this beard. Fuck, I just remember that I don't have one. Back to the topic at hand. Jacob Simon says 2 months ago, I didn't say Senator Gore's wife. I said Tipper Gore. That's some genius wording over there. When your Jim Mea says 11 months ago, when your customizable character appears in the cutscene. I think I'm familiar with that. Cutscenes of video games. David Hackett says, as an 80s rocker, completely own an album full of stiffs. This video is gold. Apparently this person has some stories to tell because, hey, he was that person during he used to do this during the 80s. I love this one. Your mom says, I don't believe profanity has anything to do with Christianity. Damn, that was badass. There was complete silence after that, and I totally agree with that. Let us continue. What the Gores failed to realize was Snider's mom was a librarian and he graduated from college with a degree in English. Let us not forget that some of the greatest writers of English literature were not native speakers of that. Take Joseph Conrad, for example. He was a native speaker of Polish, however, he wrote books in English, and I have to say that he was actually quite prominent and quite decent in his command of the language, which was quite impressive, regardless of his first language. Normally, as a mockery, someone would say, not bad for someone who doesn't speak English as their first language. However, I would say, I would rephrase it like this. Regardless of your language, your dominance of English is amazing. Is unparalleled. Rick Schweitzer says, we all need to thank Dee Snider and Rob Halford. They stood up for themselves and all of us against censorship. Censorship is ridiculous and makes me think and realize that sometimes these kind of people in Congress are a bunch of prudes. P-R-U-D-E. Prudes. It's not a slur, kind of. It's just a description of people who are extremely cocky and santurrones. That's what we call them in Spanish. Next one. Michael Morelli says Al Gore was such a concerned parent that he deemed it unreasonable to have to listen to the whole entire album to check for undesirable content. I guess you can waste 40 minutes or so when you are busy inventing the internet. I didn't understand that one, but the irony is appreciated. GN says politicians playing moral authority in the 80s, just like today. Next one. Jen Ryder. Coming back to this video years after I first watched it, how angry everyone gets that Schneider, it's Snider, but for some reason I can't help pronouncing Schneider. S-C-H-E-R, no, S-C-H-N-E-I-D-E-R, Schneider, which means tailor in German. Sorry if from now on I pronounce Schneider, but I cannot help it at some point. One more time. Coming back to this video. How angry everyone gets that Snider makes more sense and it's smarter than they are. Instead of respecting it, they just pick up the shovel and dig themselves a hole. Again, it's like picking Opinions of a Clown by Heinrich Böll, the German author from the post-war. Opinions of a Clown basically is a bunch of smackings and slappings to religious people, because there's one quote that says, atheists make me bored. Atheists bore me because they're always talking about God. But what about Catholics? They frighten me because they play unfair. And what about Protestants? They irritate me because they are so unfair. Something like that. John Harriel says, all Tipper Gore did with that sticker was let the kids know what album they had to get. I totally agree. Dowie, D-A-W-I-E, Van Eden says 5 months ago, I don't know why this whole situation really inspired me. Dude stood up for what he believed in and stayed true to himself throughout, even if it didn't mean battling high and mighty politicians. They are mighty politicians who are actually wimps and prudes. What do you think? And let's not forget that they are Congress people for a time that does not exist anymore. 14BIMALK says, increasingly both the parents will have to work to survive. Just hits the nail on how the world has become a lot worse for the middle class. I totally agree. I'm a regular person, not even middle class, I don't know. Cody Sedlock says, D, be a protective parent, Al Gore. How dare you expect me to be proactive and be a parent? Years later, ha! Al Gore's child grew up to be a druggie with double G. Good job with your passive parenting, douchebag. Tyler Davis says, when the frontman of a heavy metal band schools a bunch of parents on how to be actual parents. Yes, Northern Saxon says, if there was social media back in the 1980s, this would have become the viral video of that decade. I totally agree. Let's continue with that. I totally agree with that. Says Paul Wisham says, not Grisham, Wisham says, like John Grisham, the author. Paul Wisham says, I love the fact that he got to speak without hindrance. I love the fact that he got to speak without hindrance, not inheritance, hindrance. Big difference. Craig Campbell says, I was born in the late 70s. Any kid that got their hands on an album in the 80s that had a parental guidance sticker on the label instantly became the most popular kid in school. What do you think, Nina? Do you like that idea? I know I do. Hey look, my beer is translucent and goes through you. Ruben de Leon says, besides, I'm a little cold and I could use some heat. What's up? I know, I love it. Gatita. I know you want to go back, but give me some heat, please. Carlos Alonso Rivera says, to be perfectly honest, 9 years from now, I'm gonna be well retired and I'll be spending more time with my son than any parent probably ever spends. Fucking legend, I totally agree. Ruben de Leon says, I love how the snarky smiles when he entered the room had disappeared middle speech. To be perfectly honest, 9 years from now, I read that. Mark Matthews says, 2 minutes in and I can already tell the senators are thinking, fuck, who picked this guy? He's meant to be making a fool of himself. The people are sometimes the best comedians. I totally agree. I'm just a messenger. I'm just a facilitator who tells you and reports you what he sees. I'm playing with the filter. Let us continue. Says Dawn Welch. Not Welch with CSH, but CH. Welch says, couldn't believe it when Gore sounded like he was complaining about having to deal with listening to what their kids are bringing home. It's called parenting, dude. Love D telling him straight. First of all, I wasn't attacking Senator Gore's wife. I was attacking the member of the PMRC. Her name is Tipper Gore, isn't it? I love that. It's all about context and words. It's your word against them sometimes, unfortunately. That says Don Welsh. LB says 4 months ago, my parents did sit down and listen to my Appetite for Destruction, the entire album, right before. I no longer owned that album. Claps to your mom, dude. Claps to your mom. What's next? SK says, first of all, I wasn't attacking. I read that one already. One hand clapping. Off topic, one hand clapping says, off topic. I remember when Gore met Courtney Love and said, Miss Gore, I'm a big fan. Her response, name one song. What are you doing, Nina? My cat is just playing around. Gore is a fraud. But which one of the Gores? Al or Tipper? Which one? I'm terminally teenage. I love that. Says Nowhere Man. Jeff Williams says he's smarter and more eloquent than any of the suits in that room. They are not people, they're a bunch of suits. That makes sense. Andrew Lurvey says, amazing how sexist those senators were. Like they seem to have a really hard time separating the idea of Al Gore's wife from Tipper Gore, the human, being with her own ability to make her own decisions and be her own person. That's right. That's a little tiny minute sexism. I have to agree with you, Audrey Lurvey. Random Ashe says, I don't believe profanity has anything to do with Christianity. Thank you. Absolute savage. Absolutely savage. But I rephrased it like absolute savage. 9 years from now I will retire. 40 years later. Vigil the Mob says, those sharp-dressed buffoons didn't even try to seem respectful to D. They outright deviated from the subject in order to attack him, his fan base, his music, and whatever else they could go for. They knew they have no counter-arguments, so they hit the man himself. Again, personal attacks when you don't have arguments. And to make everything even more ironic, in spite of Gore's attempts to criticize Snider, he's the guy who's divorced with a junkie son. Ha! Way to go. Al. I pronounce Al, but in English it's something like Al. My tongue doesn't touch the tip of my mouth, right? I'm not sure. Those sharp-dressed buffoons. I read that one already, and I have to agree. I agree with you. I was wondering if you could please. Let's sing. I know, right? I replied to you. I know, right? I would like to read and see the info that proves that Gore's son is a junkie. I want to insult them, but I want to make sure I am using facts. Facts don't care about your feelings, let's not forget that. Thank you, Ben Shapiro, for that phrase. Let us continue. J. King says 7 months ago, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I'm the youngest of 3 kids, and there was one rule in our household about music. If we wanted to listen to the music, then my mom had to listen to it too. Usually we would play it and she would listen with us. If we did want her to listen to a song or a group, then we shouldn't. If we didn't want her to listen to a song or a group, then we shouldn't be listening to them ourselves. Worked for us. My mom knew all the lyrics to all the songs on Metallica's Black Album. Oh, by the way, I forgot to play some music, sorry. Royalty free, let's not forget about that. Royalty free, let's not forget about that. Damn it. Let's hope that there are no commercials, thank goodness. Come on, play. Come on. I would be a wonderful DJ, wouldn't I? I'm joking, by the way. I love how they call out Tipper Gore's lies about his band. It's a little sad, to be honest. I wonder what would happen if Tipper Gore admitted many years later that her actions were actually foolish, prudish, and I need another word that rhymes with ish, prudish, foolish, and childish, by trying to censor something that she didn't like and she deemed unacceptable. Like you are some kind of grandma who has been through millions and tons of crap, through millions of events. You are not a grandmother yet. You're not a gray-haired grandmother whose gray hairs inspire respect and wisdom. The timeless kind, of course. Next. Phil H says, don't get me wrong, Twisted Sister was some pretty great music, but this moment in history is what Dee Snider was born for. I agree. This is a legendary moment that has to be studied in schools, and how heavy metal saved freedom of speech. I totally agree. Thankfully this is on YouTube, so people have free access to it. WAP is a thing now. They don't know how good they had it. WAP, what's WAP? Billy Blue Balls. I think I have read these guys coming somewhere else. Also said it's shameless. It is not shameless, it is stupidity. What is WAP? WAP. I don't know what it is. Ooh, these politicians. So you're saying parents have to parent and work? Yes. I'm surprised you don't. You are so disconnected from reality. Pelly Nake. Remember back in the 2000s when I was a teen, I got interested in manga, but it had a bad reputation where I lived. Manga. My parents were worried, but I just wanted to freaking read Sakura Card Captor and prove to them that it wasn't some hentai on the internet. So they asked me to take them to the store and show them a volume. I did, they saw it was nothing to worry about, and they let me buy it. I clapped your parents to it. So they asked me to take them to the store and they show them a volume. I did, they saw there was nothing to worry about it and they let me buy it. They would then ask me from time to time the plots of the mangas I was reading and, behave like responsible parents. Both of them worked, but had time to make sure I was taken care of and not doing nothing dangerous or age inappropriate. Makes sense to me. It says Ange, but that's not important. What other music can I play for you guys? Something that is, of course, royalty free. That's the most important thing. Royalty free. Ah, yeah. The March of the Spoons. I'm too lazy to write down the name of the song, so I'm going to mention it on the chat. Please no commercials. Please no commercials. Thank goodness I muted it, because I would hate if the freaking commercial is displayed on my video and I'm copyright struck. I would hate that. How much time have I been recording? I don't know. Let us continue. This long time ago I listened to this music, and to be honest, until recently I found out what the name is. Let us continue. I'll always trust a guy in a leather and ripped denim with a long hair more than some phony in a 3-piece suit. How about someone with a coat, but the rest is totally informal? I really thought they were going to pull D over on D. They were going to pull over on D. This was so satisfying to watch. I agree. Some lyrics are poetry, just like other art. It is interpreted differently for every person. That's what makes it so beautiful. This Snider is one of the most respected, eloquent people I've ever met in my life. I feel privileged to have been raised on their music. Nice. Let's say there's music that glorifies insects. Well, he just went right in there. I wonder why. Why are you asking about incest? Why, Senator? Why, Senator? Why are you asking about incest? I wonder why. The difference between these musicians and Tipper are that these guys are used to being talked to like this and how to rebuttal, but Tipper only hangs around with people who agree with her, people that are only there to fuel her ego. I totally agree. So my question again would be, by the way, this was said by Candy Girl 702. The other one was by Rabbits Huggers. I agree, because I would love to see Tipper Gore apologizing for all these things, and I would love to see the result. What will happen? We don't know, but hey, you can take back your words and you can at least have some decency in defeat. Some dignity and decency in defeat. Hey, how about that? You can have some decency and dignity in defeat. Yep, let's have decency and dignity in defeat. Why are you attacking Senator's wife? Says Sarah Van Cleef. I wasn't attacking Senator Gore's wife. I was attacking a member of the PMRC. You attacked Senator Gore's wife by name. Her name is Tipper Gore, isn't it? Yes. Okay, I didn't say Senator Gore's wife. I said Tipper Gore. Holy cow, that's pure feminism and I'm so impressed. Why is this feminism? I don't understand. I'm going to ask him that. How is that feminism? I don't understand. He just stands up and says, I want to rock. If I ever had kids, Twisted Sister will be my repertoire of music they will hear. I will have my kids, my hypothetical daughter, listen to Ragtime by Scott Joplin. I love that music. Love to this Twisted Sister and Dee particularly. My parents never tried to stifle of musical choices. When Tipper was having her tantrums, my mom said, honestly, most kids hear words in the hallways of school than on record. PMRC, Jake, that was said by Iron72, Electrogal, now Jack Scarab. Jack Scarab says, wait. Mischief Maker. This sounds good, I like it. Let us continue. Jack Scarab says, 8 months ago, PMRC selects him to appear before Congress because they think he isn't articulate enough to string a whole sentence together. This never be like, so you have chosen death. Let's continue. This panel just got absolutely destroyed. That's a pun with the name of Mr. Snider. Mike Glenn. They weren't expecting him to be so smart. They bit off more than they could chew. They can chew. I agree. High King says they big mad. They weren't expecting him to be this intelligent or well spoken. Ha! I agree. Lanky Bastard says, terminally teenage. Thank you for naming my mental condition. This Snider is a legend. I'm kind of a teenager too, in some aspects. I love my girlfriend, who sometimes I refer to as my wife. I love her to death, and the fact that we have a lot of intimacy, the fact that we have some delicious action under the blanket, says a lot. And I'm so happy for that. Potato Mato says, you know you're a badass when you go to court in a Super Saiyan 3 cosplayer. Ha! Tero Laitanen, that sounds Finnish, from Finland, and says, when the elite thinks that a rock star is a peasant and turns out to be brighter than them, priceless. And here we are, still stuck having to explain ourselves for our creativity and expression in a free country that is supposed to be free. When are censors ever going to learn that they won't win? They wanted to limit what kind of content could be music. Then came NWA and Cannibal Corpse. So much for that, huh? Lol. Smash Ketchum says, Mr. Snider, what do you want to do about all that thing? I want to talk, I want to talk. Tahsin Sabah says, I love how people are laughing at him when he walks and when he opens his mouth and everyone shuts up. The look on their face when they realize this intelligent, priceless. It's crazy world of fake reality. I love how this guy was tripping over his own words, seeing that he knows Snider is not fooled by his bullshit and soft language. Never trust a politician. It's funny. After 30 years, says Lopik Kokur, that's Lopik Kokur. It's funny. After 30 years, these still live. It's funny. After 30 years, these still live with one wife, grown their four kids, and meanwhile, lots of moralists from this video have been divorced, married again, and so on. Boom. That says a lot. I'm a little exhausted and I'm getting trippy, so I'm going to stop it right there. Thank you so much, Brave New World. Make your comments down in the comment section. Oh. Damn it, I hate my beard.